You know, it's a strange thing, most people wake up every day without truly waking up. They open their eyes, yes, but they don't see. They stumble through the morning half-asleep, distracted, scrolling, rushing as if life is some sort of endless rehearsal rather than the main act itself. And then they wonder why they feel aimless, anxious, or unfulfilled. But here's the truth. The way you start your day is the way you build your life. Those first 40 minutes, they're not just minutes. They are a sacred opportunity to align your mind, body, and spirit towards something meaningful. And if you waste them, you're not just wasting time, you're wasting potential. You see, discipline in the morning is not about perfection. It's about orientation. It's about saying, I will no longer let chaos run my life. Because the moment you decide to structure your morning, you're deciding to structure your soul, and that's no small thing. So, in the next few minutes, I want to show you how to reclaim those 40 minutes, how to transform them from a blur of distraction into a ritual of power, clarity, and purpose. Because once you learn to start your day right, you don't just change your morning, you change your life. When you wake up in the morning, you're confronted with chaos. It's not just the noise of the world or the demands waiting for you, it's the confusion inside your own mind. Thoughts begin to scatter, emotions start to rise, and the sheer weight of responsibility can feel overwhelming before the day even begins. That's why the very first thing you must do is establish order. Because if you don't bring structure to your morning, the rest of your day and ultimately your life will be consumed by disorder. Human beings are not built to thrive in chaos. We need rhythm, we need predictability, and we need a sense of purpose that guides our actions. The morning is your chance to bring that order voluntarily, to create structure where there would otherwise be confusion. When you make your bed, you're not just straightening sheets, you're making a symbolic statement. I'm capable of putting something in order. When you set your goals or practice gratitude, you're telling your mind, I am not a slave to circumstance, I am an architect of direction. The reason this matters so much is that the external world is unpredictable and often unforgiving. You can't control what happens to you throughout the day. People may disappoint you, plans may fail, obstacles may arise, but what you can control is how you begin your day. The first 40 minutes serve as a foundation for your mental and emotional stability. If those minutes are consumed by distraction, negativity, or disorder, you set yourself up for a day of reaction rather than creation. But if those minutes are spent in alignment, focused, intentional, grounded, you develop a psychological momentum that carries through everything you do. Order is not rigidity. It's not about living in a mechanical routine that kills spontaneity. It's about creating a framework that gives you freedom, the freedom to think clearly, to act decisively, and to feel balanced. When you decide to take command of your morning, you're making a profound psychological statement. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, you are a participant in your destiny. Most people underestimate the power of this decision. They assume it's a small, almost trivial thing to wake up early, to make the bed, to plan the day. But it's not trivial at all. It's a declaration of responsibility, and responsibility is what gives life meaning. When you take control of your morning, you are declaring that your life has value, that it's worth organizing, protecting, and improving. So, order your morning. Don't leave it to chance. Treat it as something sacred. Because when you start your day with clarity and purpose, you create a sense of order that expands outward into everything else you do. And that's the secret most people miss. When you learn to bring order to the first moments of your day, you begin to bring order to your mind, your emotions, and ultimately, to your entire life. Most people wait for motivation to arrive before they act. They tell themselves they'll start exercising, working, or improving their habits once they feel ready, once inspiration strikes, or the mood feels right. But that's a lie. Motivation is unreliable. It's a fleeting emotion that changes with the weather, and if you build your life waiting for it, you'll spend most of your days standing still. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't ask for your feelings, it demands your commitment. And that's what truly changes a person's life. The mistake many make is assuming that successful people wake up every morning filled with excitement and energy. They don't. They simply act despite the absence of motivation. They've trained themselves to follow through on their responsibilities regardless of how they feel. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doers. It's the difference between someone who talks about goals and someone who quietly builds them brick by brick. When you wake up in the morning, you face resistance, that voice in your head that says, stay in bed, scroll your phone, you can start later. That voice is the enemy of progress. It's the manifestation of chaos trying to reclaim its territory. Discipline is the act of silencing that voice through action. It's saying, no, I have a plan, and I will follow it whether I want to or not. And that simple act of obedience to your own higher purpose is transformative. Because every time you do something difficult, especially when you don't feel like it, you strengthen your character. You become the kind of person who can be trusted not just by others, but by yourself. And that's what real confidence is, self-trust built through repeated acts of discipline. Motivation may get you started once in a while, but discipline keeps you consistent. It's the engine that moves you forward when inspiration runs dry. Discipline in the first 40 minutes of your day sets the tone for everything that follows. When you wake up and immediately choose structure, maybe through exercise, journaling, meditation, or learning, you're training your brain to prioritize what's meaningful over what's easy. You're proving to yourself that your values matter more than your moods, and that single decision creates a psychological cascade that influences every choice that comes after. Motivation might whisper you could, but discipline commands you will. It's a daily decision to put order before comfort, growth before pleasure, and purpose before distraction. The beauty is, once you start acting out of discipline long enough, something interesting happens. Motivation starts to follow. You begin to feel proud of yourself, you see results, you start to want to keep going, but that comes after, not before. So don't wait for the spark of inspiration. Become the kind of person who doesn't need it. Build your mornings on the solid ground of discipline, not the shifting sands of emotion, because when discipline leads, motivation follows, and that's how real transformation begins. Every morning, before the world even touches you, there's already noise inside your head. Thoughts racing about what you must do, what you haven't done, what you might fail to accomplish. That inner chaos is subtle but powerful. It shapes your mood, your decisions, and ultimately, the quality of your day. If you don't learn to silence that chaos within, you end up being controlled by it. It dictates your focus, your energy, and your sense of self-worth. The first 40 minutes of your day are when this battle is at its loudest, and also when it can be won. The mind is like a wild animal. When it wakes up restless, reactive, and untamed, most people immediately feed it with distraction, social media, notifications, random thoughts. They give the chaos fuel instead of peace. And the tragedy is, they don't even realize they're doing it. They start their day consumed by noise, which means they spend their day reacting instead of creating. But when you learn to silence that chaos through stillness, through presence, through intentional awareness, you regain control over yourself. You become the master of your thoughts instead of their prisoner. Silencing chaos doesn't mean eliminating thought. It means organizing it. It means observing your inner dialogue without judgment, breathing through it, and deciding which thoughts deserve your attention. Something as simple as sitting quietly for 5 minutes, breathing deeply, or writing down your thoughts can create immense clarity. It's in that silence that you begin to understand what's really happening inside you, your fears, your anxieties, your hopes. And once you see them clearly, they lose their power over you. Many people run from silence because they fear what they might find there. But silence is not your enemy, it's your teacher. It reveals the areas of your life that are out of balance, the habits that are harming you, and the emotions you've been ignoring. When you confront that truth instead of avoiding it, you begin to heal the internal chaos that holds you back. The first few minutes of your morning should not be about consumption, but reflection, about listening not to the world, but to yourself. When you create that inner quiet, everything outside begins to change. You respond instead of react. You move with clarity instead of confusion. You begin to notice beauty, purpose, and possibility where before there was only noise. The mind that starts the day in peace is far more powerful than the mind that starts in panic. So, silence the chaos within. Don't hand your mornings over to distraction and noise. Sit with yourself, breathe, reflect, choose your thoughts before they choose you, because when your inner world is calm, no amount of external turbulence can shake you. The true measure of strength isn't how loud you can be in the world, it's how still you can remain inside it. That stillness, cultivated each morning, becomes your anchor in a chaotic world, and the foundation of your greatest power. Purpose begins with structure because without structure, purpose is just a dream, something abstract, floating somewhere in your imagination. You can have the most noble intentions in the world, but if you don't give them form, they remain unrealized. The truth is, purpose is not something you stumble upon by chance. It's something you build, brick by brick, through order and daily discipline. And the morning is where that construction begins. When you start your day without structure, you invite confusion. You drift from one thing to another, reacting instead of leading. The mind becomes scattered, and scattered energy produces scattered results. But when you begin your day with a plan, a clear structure, you are giving direction to your purpose. You are saying, "This is who I am, and this is what matters today." That simple act of defining your morning gives meaning to your actions. It transforms chaos into clarity. Structure doesn't restrict you, it liberates you. Many people mistake freedom for doing whatever they want, whenever they want. But real freedom is the ability to control yourself, to direct your actions towards something meaningful. A person without structure is like a ship without a rudder. It may move, but it will never reach its destination. The first 40 minutes of your day are where you take the wheel. You decide what kind of person you'll be today, what battles are worth fighting, and what distractions you'll ignore. That's how you begin to live with purpose. Purpose itself is not a feeling, it's an orientation. It's the recognition that life is difficult, but that difficulty can be transformed into meaning through responsibility. Structure is how you embody that responsibility in your everyday life. For instance, when you set aside time to plan your goals, read something that strengthens your mind, or simply reflect in silence, you are aligning your actions with your higher purpose. You are reminding yourself that your life has weight, that your time has value, and that every morning is an opportunity to build something worthwhile. Without structure, even the most passionate intentions fade away. People often say, "I want to be better," or "I want to do something meaningful," but they never define how, and without that how, purpose collapses under the weight of indecision. Structure gives it bones, it makes it real. It transforms vague desires into practical habits. It's not about creating a rigid schedule, it's about designing a rhythm that keeps you connected to what truly matters. So each morning, ask yourself, what am I building today? Then give that purpose shape through structure, through action, time management, and intention. Because meaning doesn't arise out of wishful thinking, it arises out of ordered living. When you begin your day with structure, you give your life a clear direction. You stop drifting and start driving, and that's when purpose stops being a word and becomes your way of living. The smallest actions you take in the morning might seem insignificant: a glass of water, a few minutes of journaling, a short walk, or even making your bed. But what most people fail to understand is that these small actions are not small at all. They are seeds, and like all seeds, they contain immense potential. The decisions you make in those first 40 minutes of your day ripple outward, shaping your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, and ultimately, your destiny. The connection between small actions and immense consequences is one of the most profound truths of human existence. The problem is, people tend to underestimate the power of small things. They think greatness is born from grand gestures or massive leaps forward, but that's not true. Greatness grows out of consistency, the steady, repetitive, disciplined acts that seem too minor to matter. When you pour your attention into those small tasks, you're not just organizing your morning, you're organizing your mind. Each small victory rewires your brain to believe that your actions matter, that you have control, and that improvement is possible. Think about it. When you make your bed, you create order out of chaos. When you write down your goals, you bring clarity out of confusion. When you take 5 minutes to breathe deeply and calm your mind, you reclaim control over your emotions. These moments don't seem world-changing, but collectively, they shift your psychology from passivity to purpose. You begin to trust yourself. You start to believe that you can handle bigger challenges because you've proven it through smaller ones. Life isn't transformed in a single grand moment, it's transformed through 1,000 small decisions made consistently over time. The way you start your morning teaches your subconscious what kind of person you are. If you begin the day with order, focus, and intention, your mind receives the message, "I am disciplined, I am in control, I am capable." That identity slowly builds with each repetition, and before long, it becomes a truth you live by. Small actions also compound. Just as neglect accumulates into chaos, discipline accumulates into strength. 10 minutes of learning every morning turns into hundreds of hours of knowledge in a year. A few minutes of gratitude each day rewires your brain toward optimism. A brief workout builds stamina not only in your body but in your will. These are not just habits, they are building blocks of character. It's easy to dismiss small actions because their results aren't immediate. But the truth is, everything significant in life grows gradually like a tree. You don't see the roots developing, but they're anchoring deep beneath the surface. Your small, disciplined actions are those roots. They stabilize you, strengthen you, and prepare you to handle the storms ahead. So, never underestimate the power of what seems insignificant. Every morning, when you choose to act with purpose, even in the smallest ways, you are sending a message to the universe: I am ready to grow. And that message, repeated daily, is what transforms ordinary mornings into extraordinary lives. The way you begin your morning determines the quality and direction of your entire day. It's not an exaggeration, it's a psychological and emotional truth. When you win the morning, you conquer the day. The first 40 minutes after you wake up are the most powerful window of influence you have over your mind. They set your internal state, define your focus, and establish whether you'll spend the day reacting to life or leading it. Most people surrender this sacred time to distraction: their phone, the news, meaningless noise, and then wonder why they feel lost, unfocused, or overwhelmed. But those who learn to claim their mornings develop an inner momentum that nothing can easily stop. Winning the morning is not about perfection, it's about intention. It means waking up and consciously deciding to take control of your energy, your mindset, and your habits. It means refusing to drift through your morning in autopilot mode. The moment you open your eyes, your brain is highly receptive. It absorbs whatever you feed it. If you start with chaos, you internalize chaos. If you start with purpose, you internalize power. That's why the first actions you take, no matter how small, are symbolic declarations of self-respect. A strong morning routine doesn't have to be complex or rigid. It simply needs to align with your values. Maybe it's journaling, exercising, meditating, reading something inspiring, or reflecting on your goals. What matters is that you engage in activities that sharpen your focus and remind you of what truly matters. When you do this consistently, you begin to feel centered. You're not tossed around by emotions or circumstances because you've already anchored yourself in discipline and clarity before the day even began. Winning the morning also reshapes how you handle adversity. Life will always present challenges, unexpected problems, disappointments, conflicts. But when you start your day from a place of strength, you respond to those challenges with composure instead of panic. You've already built mental momentum, so setbacks don't break you, they test you. And every time you handle one well, you reinforce your belief that you can handle even more. That's how confidence is built, not through luck, but through preparation. When you control your mornings, you stop being a victim of time. You stop living reactively, constantly pulled by obligations and distractions. Instead, you live proactively with structure, direction, and meaning. You begin to realize that the morning isn't just a start, it's a statement. It's your daily opportunity to realign with your purpose, to remind yourself of your values, and to act in accordance with them. The person who wins the morning doesn't just get ahead in hours, they get ahead in life. Because those who take control of the small hours of dawn take control of their destiny. Each morning is a new beginning, a blank page. And when you choose to fill it with order, clarity, and purpose, the rest of your day, and eventually your entire life, begins to follow that same pattern of excellence and meaning.